Please adhere to YouTube's selected guidelines before viewing the content of this video. I do not encourage or condone any products, actions, or behaviors shown in this video. All videos are produced in a safe, professional, and controlled environment. Please do not attempt to replicate any actions performed during the video. All actions are performed by professionals. Alright, so today I'm going to be drinking beer for the first time. Although what I've got with me today isn't really beer, it is instead beer. In quotations. And when I say that, I really do mean it, as what I've got with me today is the Kirin Nodogoshi beer from Japan, which is not your normal beer, and instead of being made with malt, is made with soy protein, along with hops, sugar, and yeast, which makes what I've got with me today technically a gluten-free beer, but also kind of not a beer at all. It all depends on what your personal definition of what a beer is, I do suppose. I've heard some people refer to what I've got with me today as beer. I've heard some other people refer to it as a gluten-free beer, and I've heard some other people refer to it as a beer-flavored alcoholic beverage. It really depends on what your definition is of beer, I will acknowledge, but in my opinion, this can of beer, quote unquote, right here, is exactly that. It is, quote unquote, beer. It is beer, but also at the same time, not quite beer. But hopefully it'll be close enough to get the full experience as to what beer is actually like. Because I've been wanting to try beer for some time now, but haven't been able to because I'm gluten-free, I will acknowledge. Now, interestingly enough, the beer I've got with me today was not actually designed to be gluten-free, and was instead designed to be Happoshu, which is a tax bracket for alcoholic beverages in Japan. These beverages have to be under 67% malt, and that allows them to be taxed at a lower rate. So basically, Kirin accidentally made a gluten-free beer while trying to produce a lower-priced product, which is pretty amusing if you ask me. Now, this choice appears to have paid off, as this quote-unquote beer is extremely common, being able to be found at 7-Eleven, Family Mart, pretty much every convenience store, pretty much every grocery store around the country, from what I can tell at least, and it's been on the market for just over 20 years now, since 2005, and according to this red label right here, apparently I think it's 1.5 billion cans have been sold or something like that. Might be a mistranslation, but if that is true, that is a lot of beer without a doubt. Now, since I can't drink normal beer, I'm hoping that what I've got with me today will give me a good idea as to what real beer is really like. Will this beer actually taste like real beer, or will it not? Well, I've got no idea because I've never had beer before, but I'm hoping I enjoy this. Let me tell y'all what. Now that I've covered what this actually is, and now that I've covered pretty much everything I wanted to say for the intro, I do suppose, without further ado, I should probably quickly cover the packaging that this beer came in, and then after that, I'm thinking I should probably go ahead and crack the can open, take a sip, and drink some beer for the very first time and find out if I actually enjoy beer or not. Will I or will I not? Whew. I'm looking forward to finding out. But as said, first off, let's go ahead and cover the packaging, starting off with the background, which we can see is very much a white background at the very top up there, and that white background is meant to look like foam, as towards the bottom we can see it gets a little bit more brown / golden down there, and we can see this sort of foam is meant to be like kind of going over the side of the can or side of the glass or something like that kind of thing. Overall, a nice little bit of a three-dimensional look going on right there, and that foam is covering up the design right here just a little bit, like it's meant to be the background, but at the same time it's kind of in the foreground. Very interesting if I do say so myself. In the background though, we can see there is a golden hue of beer. Kirin, I believe, knows that, of course, this is not a real beer, quote unquote. So they want to make it clear that it at least still looks like a normal beer. And well, this is what the ideal beer looks like in marketing terms at least. So of course they've put this on the can, and this design has been around since the since the product's initial introduction in 2005. Of course, there have been some minor changes to the design of the can, but overall this background is still pretty much the exact same as what it was 20 years ago or so. So yeah, we get a very nice sort of beer-y sort of background, I'd have to say. And we can see at the very top right here, we get a little bit of a red triangle. And this is basically just talking about how this beer has been around for 20 years and how many cans they've sold and everything like that kind of thing. And it's just saying all of that in Japanese. Over here, it just says Kirin in gold right there. And below that, we get the actual design for the logo of this can. We can see there is a sort of a dark royal blue circle. And in the middle of the circle in Japanese, it just says Nodogoshi right there. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm probably not, but I hope I am. And above that, we can see there is a dragon right there. This dragon is a design on a lot of Kirin's alcohols, not just this one, but it overall is a pretty nice design, and the dragon itself is quite intricate. Certainly no complaints on my behalf about the design right here, and it's very up in your face and very easy to find on the shelf, so I gotta give them props for that, I will acknowledge. Moving on below this right here, we can see it just says like alcoholic right there. It says this contains 5% alcohol. And then below that, it just has some sort of acknowledgement. And I don't remember what that says, but that's all in that sort of dark royal blue once again. And that's all there is to this side of the can. Moving on to this side, we can see barcode right there. Just says don't drink it if you're pregnant. Has their sort of information right there and everything like that kind of thing. And then basically just has a lot of acknowledgements and whatnot about what they said right here. Moving on from this side, we can see the design itself loops around. It doesn't quite flow evenly like up here it does, but kind of looks a bit janky right there, I will acknowledge. Either way though, the design does indeed wrap around, so I really can't complain too much. But we can see on the other side, it's pretty much the exact same design. This logo is a little bit smaller. This goes over it a bit more because it is smaller. We can see there's some other text right here that I forgot to translate, so I don't know what it says, but I'm sure it's something similar to what it says over here if I had to guess, at least because I see it says 20 and 5, which is the exact same thing it says on this red piece over there. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to the design of the can. Overall, a solid look. I'm not gonna lie though, this beer does look a little bit cheap, having the actual like idyllic sort of beer aesthetic on the can itself. It definitely makes this can come across as a little bit cheaper than not, which I think is exactly the goal, because that's exactly what this is. This is meant to be a cheap beer that is not technically really a beer, but is a beer, but it's not a beer because it wanted to make it cheaper because of tax purposes. So it's a beer, but it's not a beer because they wanted to make it cheaper. So this is meant to be a budget product. And, well, they've made it look like a budget product that still has a good thought out design, and hopefully it has a good thought out flavor and taste as well. Well, that's pretty much all there is to the design of the can, I do suppose. Let's go ahead and take a look at the bottom. This can was manufactured in May of 2025. It is currently early June 2025, so this is at the maximum a little bit over a month old. And expiration date is 2026-01, so January of 2026. Got plenty of time on the best by date as of really recording this video. Taking a look at the top of the can, nothing much going on, just a little bit of something right there. Is that Braille or is that something else? I have no idea. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get this can all opened up. And let's go ahead and, ooh, nice opening noise right there. Let's go and set it down, open it up. Should have been quiet for that portion, I'm not gonna lie. And let's give it a smell. Oh, it smells like beer. Now, I'm not surprised it does because it still has hops in it, and hops are what gives beer the flavor. Like some people may think it's the malt. From what I've heard, it's not only the malt, it's mainly the hops. Of course, the malt has its own thing going on in beer, but the main beer-esque flavor really is coming from the hops, apparently. And I'd have to guess that's probably what I'm smelling right now. A little bit of sweetness going on. I'd have to say a little bit of a sort of bready smell coming from it. I assume that's probably coming from the yeast, if I had to guess. Yeah, a little bit, I'd have to say the smell coming from this drink right off the bat is very much that of a slightly sweet, slightly sour, bitter smell with a little bit of breadiness coming through. Okay. Very interesting, very interesting. So yeah, I'd have to say, I'm just trying to think of the correct order of what everything is in smell. I'd have to say it's very much that of a I'd have to say it's very much that of a bready smell up top with an undertone of a little bit of like sourness and bitterness, and then under that with a little bit of sweetness, and maybe with a little bit of citrusiness in that sour and bitterness as well. Maybe it's just me thinking there's citrusiness, but there's not really, but it definitely is coming across like there is some, I will acknowledge. That's what the Kirin Nodogoshi smells like to me, at least. I'll acknowledge I have not smelled a lot of beers, but I have smelled them in the past. I've walked into bars that smell like beer and stuff like that kind of thing. I've smelled a beer before. It does not smell dissimilar to a beer. And in fact, I would have to say this stuff smells like beer. It smells like beer. That's my opinion. Will I like it though? I'm a little bit nervous. The smell is not exactly to my personal preference, but there's only one way to find out if I like this or not. Without further ado, let's go ahead and take a sip, and let's go ahead and drink beer for the first time. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying. The flavor is very light. That's what I'm noticing right off the bat. Now, I'm sure not all beer is like that. I'm sure there are beers with a heavier flavor, but this one definitely has a lighter flavor than not. And it's, dare I say, pretty pleasant. It's really not. I was just smelling it. And I was like, I don't know if this is really gonna be my thing. I'll acknowledge. I was expecting the flavor to be overwhelmingly like sour and bitter, but it's not. It's very light, it's very mild, and is honestly, dare I say, pleasant. It's different than stuff I've tried before, but not to an insane degree. Huh. But definitely, there is a sort of bready flavor in there without a doubt. There's definitely a sort of yeasty, bready flavor in there, in my personal opinion. And I'd also have to say there's definitely that sourness and bitterness, along with a little bit of sweetness. The sourness and the bitterness, in my personal opinion, they're there even without the carbonation, but this is very, 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 very lightly carbonated, like when compared to a hard seltzer in the United States, or let's say like Strong Zero or a Chew High drink in Japan. The carbonation is extremely light. Now, I don't know what carbonation in beer is normally like. Is beer normally carbonated? I have no idea. I know there's carbonated beer out there, I'm sure. I don't know, maybe, is this carbonated? I feel like it is. Maybe it's just the foam really looking into it. No, it is carbonated. Just looking at the rim of the drink, yeah, there's like very small amounts of carbonation. Yeah, it's got a very, very, very light carbonation to it without a doubt. And I don't think beer is normally carbonated, I'll acknowledge. Just looking at Corona or Modelo and stuff like that kind of thing, or Bud Light, I'm looking at it, I'm like, is this stuff carbonated? I don't know, maybe it is. I've got no idea. I've never drank beer before. But that very light carbonation is what is giving me that sort of very slightly sour, bitter flavor. And I really feel like if they wanted to bump up the carbonation a little bit, they could really make it just even more sour and more bitter, because the light carbonation is what's giving me that sort of flavor. It's not really coming through on the non-carbonated bits. On the non-carbonated bits, I'm getting a sort of like slightly sweet and a little bit of a sort of a bready, yeasty flavor, I'd have to say. Excuse me. And I am still getting a little bit of sourness and bitterness from just the normal flavor, but it's most intense just through the very light carbonation, in my personal opinion. And for being 5% alcohol, I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I can't tell there's alcohol in this. It doesn't taste like alcohol to me. It tastes like it's a very, very, very mild, trying to think of something comparable that isn't alcohol. It tastes like a very mild, like lemon seltzer. There's sort of almost sort of lemony flavor to it, in my opinion, as well. I'd have to say there's like a little bit of lemon. I don't know, maybe it's just me. I do feel like there's a little bit of like lemony sort of citrusiness to that sour taste, which is quite good. I think this would be a pretty solid drink to have with like corn chips, or probably like dried lemon wedges or slices, or pair it with a lemonade, or have it with some like, honestly, this was Sour Patch Kids would go hard. I'm not gonna lie, it'd be pretty gas. Or some sort of like lemon-ish flavored smoke. Yeah, no, this is good. I like it. Do I like the Nodogoshi? Am I pronouncing it correctly? Let me. No, it's spelled Nodogoshi. Kirin Nodogoshi, I think, is how it's supposed to be pronounced. It's solid. It's good. I like it. Now, I'm sure this is not respective of all beer by any means. I highly doubt this is. I highly doubt this is respective of all beer. It is not real beer after all. It's not Corona or Modelo or Bud Light. Not that Bud Light is a real beer. All beer drinkers that enjoy Bud Light just got angry right there. I'm just kidding. I don't care what you drink as long as you enjoy your drink. That's what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying? Just had to do a little bit of rage beer there, you know what I'm saying? Cheers, y'all. But I highly doubt that what I'm drinking today is really representative of what beer as a whole is really like. Are there hops in it? Absolutely. Do I think I'm getting a little bit of an idea of what beer tastes like? Because there's hops, yeast, and a little bit of sugar added in? Absolutely. I do think I am getting an idea of what beer might be like. But is all beer like this? I highly doubt it. I mean, like Guinness versus Corona. It's two completely different styles of beer. One is a Mexican beer, I think, and the other one is Guinness. Excuse me, I don't know anything about Guinness. I don't know anything about the world of beer, I'll acknowledge. It's not stuff I can drink. The marketing is very interesting, though. I do like beer marketing. It's great stuff. I can acknowledge, though, I like this. And depending on how I'm feeling for the rest of the day, depending as to whether this stuff makes me bloat or not and stuff like that, I've heard some beer can make you bloat. Personally, I don't like alcohol that makes me bloaty. I don't like food that makes me bloaty, I will acknowledge. So if this stuff makes me bloat, I might have one of these every once in a while, but not all the time. But if this does nothing to me, I feel great afterwards, and I just got a nice buzz going now. Yeah, I might be drinking a little bit more of this, because I sure as hell can't get this in the United States. And when I do get back to the United States, one of my plans is to try a bunch of gluten-free beer that I can find. Now that I've got a good, like, standard measurement for what I think a good gluten-free beer should be like, now I can say whether a gluten-free beer is good or bad. That is one other, there is one other thing I want to mention about what I've got with me today. The Kirin Nodogoshi, as said, is not gluten-free by design. It's gluten-free because they wanted to make it cheaper for a tax bracket in Japan to have lower taxes on their alcohol. Gluten-free beer in the United States is really expensive. It is not cheap stuff. It is pricey most of the time. You want to get some Glutenberg, it's pricey, yo. I've never had it, and one of the reasons I've never had it is because I'm like, man, I don't want to pay 12 bucks for a 4-pack when I don't know if I'm even gonna enjoy it. This stuff, on the other hand, I was like, man, I'd might as well buy it, because this stuff cost me under, I think, 200 yen. I think it was like 150 yen or something like that kind of thing. It was like crazy cheap. It was like under 200 yen, let me just put it that way. I was looking at it, I was like, man, I'd might as well try this stuff. And I'm really glad I did. I swear, if gluten-free beers in the United States are worse than this, I'm going to be livid. Because I'm going to be like, this has been on the market in Japan for over 20 years. Well, just over 20 years. Barely over 20 years now. And they didn't even make it to be gluten-free. It was gluten-free by accident. They were just trying to cut down on taxes to make a cheaper product. This is cheap beer. That's what this is. if expensive gluten-free beer in the United States is worse than this stuff, man, I gotta talk to the head honcho there and be like, bro, you're making crap. I am not paying $12 for a 4-pack for crappy beer. It's not happening. Overpriced bad stuff ain't it. Let me tell y'all what. And this is underpriced good stuff. I'm not going to say underpriced because then they're going to be like, oh, we can raise the price. This is no, this is too expensive for what it is. It should be at least 30 yen cheaper. That's what I'm saying. It's giving me a buzz too. The buzz I'm getting is definitely a little bit different from the buzzes I get from, like, let's say, rum or whiskey. Of course, it's not a liquor, it's a beer, quote unquote. But it's also different from the buzz I get from, like, let's say, a Strong Zero. Strong Zero is a chew high. Excuse me. So it's like lemon soda with alcohol, vodka, something mixed in kind of thing. That's generally the mixture. They might use sochu as well or something like that, or sake. Depends on the brand, of course. I don't know exactly what the mixture Strong Zero uses. All I know is that most of their flavors, at least, are gluten-free. I'm not going to guarantee anything about all of them, but I've had no issues so far. But the buzz from this is definitely different. It's in my opinion, like with Strong Zero, especially with the 9%, it hits you hard and you get a body buzz kind of thing. Like you stand up and you're like, whoa, wow, that's crazy kind of thing. You get a body buzz from it. This, on the other hand, I'm not really getting a body buzz. I'm getting more of a head buzz, I'd have to say, something where I'm like kind of feeling it a lot right there. I'm getting a little bit more of a head buzz in my personal opinion. And it's just a little bit of a different buzz than what I'm used to, but it's quite nice. It's numbing my mind just a little bit, you know what I'm saying? You know, I can see why people would want to drink 14 beers while watching Titanic and crying their eyes out. I totally get it now. Excuse me. That does not sound like a good time, though. I do not want to drink 14 beers and watch Titanic while crying my eyes out. I am okay. But hey, if you guys want to do that, you do you. Feel free to do that. There's a date night idea. Kind of expensive date night idea, but yep, there's an idea nonetheless. Yeah, taste-wise, in my personal opinion, the Kirin Nodogoshi, very solid, very solid. I really like the flavor. I'm almost done with the can, and I need to figure out what the actual flavor is and let y'all know as well. The flavor, in my personal opinion, is very much that of a, and this is going to be an order of prominence. The flavor of the Kirin Nodogoshi is very much that of a bready, yeasty flavor up top with an undertone of, I'd have to say, a little bit of like almost sort of like lemon with, excuse me, let me restart that. So in order of prominence, I'm getting this stuff got me buzzed. This stuff got me buzzed. I'm not gonna lie. In order of prominence, yeasty bread, then a little bit of lemon, sour bitterness from the hops, then a little bit of sweetness, and I'd have to say that's just about it. Not a particularly complex drink, but just one where the flavors combine all together very well. The carbonation is very light. The mouthfeel is very much that of a very smooth mouthfeel with a very light carbonation kind of popping on your tongue, which is very pleasant, very nice. And overall, I think that this drink is very refreshing as well. I went for a little bit of a walk. It's like 85 degrees outside. It's a bit warm. Sun beating down on my head, my freshly shaved scalp, which I am getting a bit sunburned, as you guys can tell. I need to get me a hat, I will acknowledge, but this is refreshing, I'm not gonna lie. Glad I decided to have one of these. No complaints on my behalf. Glad I decided to try a Kirin Nodogoshi for the first time during today's video. Glad I tried a Japanese beer for the first time during this video, and I'm glad I tried a beer in general for the first time during this video today. There's a lot of firsts going on during this video, I will acknowledge. What are my final thoughts on this drink? Do I like it? Do I not? Would I buy this drink again? Excuse me. The answer to that last question first is yes, I would absolutely buy this again. If I am at a bar or something like that kind of thing and I want to drink something they have on tap, but they don't have Strong Zero in a can, they only have stuff on tap, what am I going to be asking for? I'm going to be asking for Kirin Nodogoshi, frankly put, because I know I can actually drink it. And especially for the price, I think it's solid. I think it's really solid, and I quite like it. I will acknowledge, I quite like what I had with me today. What I drank during this video was quite good. It's quite nice to have it. 1:52 in the afternoon, I will acknowledge. No complaints on my behalf. Yeah, overall for me, the Kirin Nodogoshi, it's definitely a beer that I would buy again for the price I bought it at. And it's one that I would enjoy drinking thoroughly. I'd buy a tall boy can of it if I wanted to, and they do offer those for like 220 yen. 5% gets you good. Might not be getting you as good as the 9% strong zero, but gets you good in a different way, and I like it. I like this stuff. It's to my personal preference. It's not the best alcohol I've ever had. I have had better, but it's still very solid. And so as such, it's going to be getting a very high 3 out of 4. Very high 3 out of 4 for the Kirin Nodogoshi, without a doubt. Quite like this stuff, and I think I may have to try more Happoshu. Happoshu? I don't know how it's pronounced. Alcohols in the future. Let's go and grab myself a thumbnail real quick. I got a buzz going, I'm not going to lie. I am quite buzzed. I'm feeling good. I think I'm gonna go have a smoke in a minute. Go look at the trains driving by. Trains driving by? Is it trains driving by, or is it trains rolling by? Like, I guess either works. Like, y'all know what I mean either way, but I can't say trains training by, or trains, yeah, I guess it would be rolling by, but driving just feels right as well. I guess either works, right? All right, well, hopefully one of those will work. Worst case scenario, one of those does not, and I can always grab another one after this video because I do still have the can. But yeah, I think that's just about all I wanted to say for this video today. Overall, I have had a very good time drinking beer for the first time, and hope this video has been educational in some way, shape, or form, as that's what I make. I make educational YouTube videos, of course, 100%. Hope you guys have enjoyed watching today's video. If you guys have enjoyed watching today's video where I drank beer for the first time, of course, make sure to like and subscribe for more content. Also, make sure to comment down below if you guys have tried this beer before, and let me know your thoughts on it. And also make sure to check out everything in the description down below. I have my Instagram, my book, my merch, my website, and everything like that down there. Go check it all out. Appreciate y'all watching. Thank you so much for stopping by. Until the next one, stay safe and peace, and have a great one. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know what I'm saying?